2023 Virtual Alabama College Attainment Network Conference. Thank you for joining us today. I am Manisha Mishra. I'm the Deputy Director at Alabama Possible, and I will now turn it over to Chandra Scott.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Listen, this is just a wonderful day. I'm excited about today's conference. I'm Chandra Scott, the Executive Director of Alabama Possible. It is a tremendous honor to be here today and to have the opportunity to welcome you to the Alabama CAN Virtual Spring Conference. At Alabama Possible, our mission is to break down barriers to prosperity through education, advocacy, and collaboration. Through the Alabama College Attainment Network, a collaboration of partners, many of whom are here today, work tirelessly to create an ecosystem that aims to build the bridge between post-secondary attainment and workforce as a strategy to end generational poverty in Alabama. The challenges we face are significant, but we are making progress. Our partners, whom you will hear from in just a few moments, are leading the way in providing pathways and resources to students of all ages across our state to achieve their goals and improve their lives for generations to come. This morning, you will hear first from our board chair, Mr. Ron Houston, followed by Mr. Nick Moore of the Governor's Office of Education and Workforce Transformation, Dr. Eric Mackey of the Alabama State Department of Education, Senior Vice Chancellor Susan Price of the Alabama Community College System, and last but not least, Dr. Jim Purcell of the Alabama Commission on Higher Education. So now, without delay, it is my pleasure to hand it over to my board chair, Mr. Ron Houston.
Good morning, everyone. So excited to have you here and be a part of this today. I am Ron Houston, and I do serve as the board chair for Alabama Possible. So on behalf of the board of directors and the tremendous staff at Alabama Possible, we welcome you to this third annual Alabama College Attainment Network Spring Conference. We're so excited for you to be here. Listen, I think we all share a common goal, and that is to have success for Alabama and beyond. Alabama Possible's mission and focus has always been to build a brighter future through our advocacy work, collaboration with our state and local agencies, and to work across the state to build a better Alabama. Today's conference is an opportunity for us to celebrate and to also look to the future and look at areas where we can continue to help and work. And I believe that will show through some of the policy work that we work on and how we collaborate. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you to take the time this morning to be here to help us to change the narrative around education. Together, I believe we can build a brighter Alabama, and we can succeed in the post-secondary attainment as well as workforce readiness. I believe these are the things that are going to help the generations to come. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's conference. And I'm now excited to invite some of our statewide partners. And I'd like to turn it over to Nick Moore from the Governor's Office on education and workforce transformation. Nick, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Houston, and it's a pleasure to join you and to say hello to all the conference attendees. It's an exciting day today for the state of Alabama and for Alabama Possible. And of course, want to thank Ms. Scott and her team for all the great work and partnership that they do each day. And there's really not a better partner that we have in the community-based organization world than Alabama Possible, because they are directly aligned with our goals of increasing the post-secondary attainment rate and the state's labor force participation rate. And each of the partners that you'll hear from today are also indelibly tied to that work, including our community college system, our State Department of Education, our four-year colleges and universities represented here by AIC, and of course our business and industry community as well. And that is a big priority for Governor Ivey of creating resources and tools, including a way for us to have a stronger skills-based and competency-based hiring and talent ecosystem. And part of the great work that Alabama Possible is doing is to make sure that, as we like to say, have an evangelical outreach strategy, not in a religious sense, but in the sense that when you have a labor force participation rate that we need to work on improving, and that's not something that's just an Alabama problem, it's a national problem with some 2 million fewer people participating in the labor force than they were before COVID. But it's also a recognition that people are facing some steep barriers or benefits cliffs, as some people would like to say. And if we focus all of our energy and resources on helping people overcome those first and last dollar barriers, then we can help to increase our shadow labor force. And that's the folks that would have a job today if it weren't for transportation or childcare or housing. And we can solve some of those problems. And so using data to first figure out who those folks are and what they need, and then providing targeted resources, including things like the Community College Foundation, some of the new programs that AIC is innovating with our four-year partners, and particularly those focused on retention. And then the work that we are doing through the community college system and State Department of Education to make sure that all of our students graduate college and career ready. Alabama Possible is involved in each of those. And then a big one I want to highlight is our FAFSA completion efforts, and which saw Alabama go from near the bottom of the pack for FAFSA completion to now a burgeoning national leader in that regard. And we were leaving millions of dollars on the table. And I know that's something that Chandra and the governor were messaging on for a long time. And so I'm glad that we are seeing that growth, but it took partners like Dr. Mackey and Dr. Purcell to make that work happen. And of course, Chancellor Baker, that's been a big supporter too. So I want to just say thank you on behalf of Governor Ivey for the work that each of you are doing in the field, in your communities, in our schools. The strength of what we're able to accomplish here in Montgomery only rests as far as you're able to take advantage of the resources and opportunities we're putting out. So if there's ways that we can improve and strengthen our talent pipeline, we certainly want to do that. We want to eliminate as many leaks in our really preschool through workforce pipeline, and only working with you partners can we do that. So thanks so much to the team, and I'll turn it back to you, Ms. Scott.
Nick, thank you so much. And thank you, Ron Houston, for your wonderful comments. And so right now we will have a message from our very own Dr. Mackey.
I'm Eric Mackey, your State Superintendent of Education, and I am thrilled to be a part of what we're doing for public school children all across this state. I'm a 30-year educator here in Alabama, a native Alabamian. Those that don't know me, I'll give you a little background, but I started out teaching high school science. I taught physics and chemistry. I taught middle school for a while. I was for 2 years a half-time assistant principal at a K-12 school and half-time 7th grade science teacher, a period of my life where I was really being pulled from this to that all the time. But I really loved that opportunity and grew to enjoy teaching those 7th graders, and middle school kind of became my passion, still is till today. But I moved from there to being an elementary school principal in Jacksonville, and then became the superintendent in Jacksonville for 8 years. Moved to Montgomery, where I worked with the Superintendents Association, and now I'm here as state superintendent for almost 5 years. So I've had lots of experiences. There's several in there I didn't mention. I coached for a while. When I was a young teacher, I coached and I drove the school bus. So many of the same experiences that people in this room have had. As we all know, we do what we have to do. We lift that mop pail when we have to. We stay extra after school to help the children when we have to. We work with families when we have to. And we do all these things because we care deeply about children and their success. And that's really why I'm in this role today, because I still believe that. And I think that working together, we can raise achievement for all of Alabama's children. You're going to see us continue to talk about college and career readiness. Now, the state school board just recently codified that beginning with next year's 9th graders, So the class of 28, that students have to have a CCR to graduate. I think that's a positive move forward and very much support that. But it means that we have to think creatively to make sure that our students have the right opportunities, the right structure in place so that every student can meet one of or more than one of those credentials. You and I both know that many students will meet many of those credentials. Some of them will be career tech certified. They'll have an ACT score. They'll have an AP credit. They'll have a dual enrollment credit. They'll have lots of them. But we still have students across the state, not a huge number, certainly not the majority, but over 25% who are not getting any CCR. And in some high schools, it's a very high percentage of their students not getting CCR. So we have to do two things. One is to do some technical cleanups. We know that we have some principals that have told us, look, that's not been a big priority for us. So we've not done a lot with it, but we're going to make sure that the students who are already on the path to credential, we make sure we get that done, close the loop, and they get their credentials. And then for those students who do not have a pathway forward, that's something we'll have to work really hard at, and you'll have to work really hard at, but we'll find a path forward for all of our students. So again, all of our students readers, all of our students mathematicians ready for Algebra 1, and all of our students graduating college and career ready. We want to give all of our students opportunity. In closing, I remind you our motto here at the department. It's been a personal motto of mine for years, a mantra of sorts, and that's every child, every chance, every day. I do believe that the reason I get up and come to work every day, the reason you get up and come to work every day is because we believe that we're giving opportunities to children, that we want every child in this state to have those opportunities, and we get up and we recommit ourselves to that every single day. Some days are easier than others. Some children are easier than others. Some pathways are easier than others. But our calling, our commitment is that every child gets a chance, gets every chance every day.
Now we will have words from Senior Vice Chancellor, Dr. Susan Price. Thank you.
Well, I did half of my presentation on mute. I apologize for that. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see the screen in front of you. Thank you so much for the invitation, and it's really good to see all of these smiling faces. To Chandra, Ron, your teams, and all of our partners, it's my pleasure to welcome you here to this conference on behalf of Chancellor Baker and the 24 colleges and the Alabama Technology Network that make up the Alabama Community College system. First, I want to thank you for the work that you do. You're true believers that the ability of education to tip the scales in a person's life is so great. The progress that we're making is very real. Your energy and your commitment are superpowers. We'll need to tap into them even more, because even though so much good work has been done, there's a whole lot more that's needed. I'd like to recognize the members of the ACCS family who are members of the Alabama College Attainment Network Steering Committee. Dr. Cynthia Anthony, who's president of Lawson State Community College, and Dr. Neil Scott, Vice Chancellor for Student Success here in the system office. Their presence on this committee confirms our commitment to our partnership and our shared work. I want to mention really quickly that 60 years ago in May, Governor Wallace and the Alabama legislature brought the public junior colleges, technical and trade schools together under one roof to form what is now the Alabama Community College system. In 60 years, our system has evolved into a diverse and rich learning environment open to all Alabamians, regardless of educational background, location, socioeconomic status, race, and other factors. And I can't help but note and chuckle just a little bit that some of these factors would have been a bit of a problem with respect to access back in 1963. But fast forward 60 years, and for the next 19 months or so, there will be events sponsored locally at our institutions, as well as at the system level and in our communities as we celebrate with our partners and prepare for the next 60 years. You know, I used to begin with the what if ceremony, what if scenario. What if a devastating affliction affected Americans and jeopardized lives and hindered the quality of life? And I think the last time I used that scenario was early March of 2020, because my goodness, did it hit with a vengeance in real life with COVID, with devastating and tragic effects and scars that we will be living with for the rest of our lives. It's still raw for us, and we're still analyzing the whys and the what fors and the how comes and the who did it. But through all of that, there are a couple of very obvious takeaways. Through ordeal, we learned that good innovation can come from a crisis. We also learned that it takes all hands on deck from different sectors with different talents working together and sometimes separately for the same outcomes to combat a horrible situation. Poverty is an affliction. Lack of access is an affliction. Ignorance is an affliction. Opportunity and education are parts of the cure. The collaborative and connective work of our partnerships, our commitment, the harnessing of our various powers, the deployment of our superpowers, plus a little courage at times, has shown that the work is beginning to make a positive difference, one Alabamian at a time. Just a couple of data points that I want to mention very briefly regarding our systems work. In the last year, we had a total of 155,000 plus students, which is an increase of 6.6% from the year before. That is a combination of credit-seeking students as well as those who are served through our adult education program and our non-credit students. But what that really means is that we have offered and awarded more than 24,000 credentials, and we have made such an impact that a recent report determined our economic impact was $6.6 billion for the state of Alabama. Our enrollment is up, as I told you, and that's no accident. It's been intentional work, it's been commitment, and it's been collaboration that has helped us continue to grow. One aspect that I would like to just highlight for a second is a new opportunity and program that we debuted just in the last year that has incredible promise. It's called the Work Through the Innovation Center. And the gist of it is, at no cost, individuals can take a class anywhere from 4 weeks to maybe 6 weeks. They take the theory course online, and then they take the lab work at one of our institutions or another designated location. And in very short time, they can earn a credential, earn enough skills to become employed, to be promoted, to make more money. And this has an impact. We've had 2,200 people so far who have been served by this, and all of them have been placed, have been promoted, or have received more money in their jobs. It's just an exciting opportunity. While we are continuing to develop more programs, we're also working on opportunities to turn these non-credit courses into credit courses, so individuals can see a pathway to college. The other thing that I want to just mention very briefly is, of course, a primary barrier for us is the lack of awareness. And what we have been able to do through the use of some very exciting technology is to now market directly to individuals in Alabama. We're testing it with adult learners, but we can market and we can identify folks down to the household. And what that means is we can tell their educational attainment, we can tell whether people are working. And what we are able to do at that point then is to develop materials, informational flyers, and mail them directly to those individuals to inform them of training that is available in their area for jobs that are available in their area. Finally, what I want to talk about just briefly is the partnership that we have with Alabama Possible. There are lots of things that we're doing right now, and I'm really proud to say that our relationship with Alabama Possible has grown and grown very strongly over the last few years. One thing that we're very proud of is the free application week for high school seniors. We, as well as other institutions, participated in this effort, and of course, at no cost to our students or to potential students to the Alabama Community College system. Also, as Nick Moore mentioned a little bit earlier, the FAFSA completion, we're very proud that from directors of financial aid all the way through career coaches, that was a hands-on deck effort to get information in the hands of seniors, to help them with financial aid, answer any kind of questions they had. Again, really bolstering the idea that college is a good choice for them. A couple of other areas I'd like to mention very briefly is the establishment of the HBCC PBCC network as part of Complete College America. I don't know if too many people know this, but there are only 12 historically Black community colleges in this country. Alabama has 6. That's incredibly important. The establishment of this network really helps folks get together who are employees at both historically Black institutions and predominantly Black institutions and share information, share best practices, all with the goal of providing support to our adult students of color. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the Coffee and Conversations event that was held in the last year, where Lawson State Community College's Culinary Arts program was highlighted. But it's really an opportunity that Alabama Possible put together with its supporters to celebrate the mission of the organization. Just a final note, our partnership is strong, and I'm real proud of that. We look forward to its continued strength and success because we know how important this mission is, and we are lockstep with you. I want to thank you for the time this morning, and please enjoy your conference. Thank you.
Chancellor Price, thank you so much for your words. And you're right, this partnership is stronger than ever. And we really appreciate the community college system's leadership and your innovation that you've led so far. So now we're going to turn it over to my friend, Dr. Jim Purcell.
Welcome from Washington, D.C., where I'm trying to seek additional money for all the fun things that we do as a collective. And I promise if some comes back, we'll share it with everyone. You know, the big thing is it is a partnership. AIC's role is usually in the background. You know, we do a lot of technical support for the FAFSA completion project, but it is the community college career coaches, the career coaches in high schools, and it's Alabama Possible who does all the great human interaction, which is a necessary part of our process. So I'm delighted to be a part of this teamwork, and it's really about helping people with the American dream when they need the help the most. Now, this year, we're in a legislative session, and I've been working on a couple of bills, and there's a couple of them that I think are worthy of note. One of them is called Reengage Alabama, which is a scholarship program for adults. Because, you know, as we address the workforce need, not only do we need to make sure that our K-12 folks are well prepared, that we have the appropriate programs and offerings in a community college, but it'd be great if we could have a lot of the folks that are already in our state to get the credential they need to get a promotion and to get a credential that's in high demand. So we've suggested some money there. The legislation is going to be talked about today in DC, and that's sort of what happens. When I'm out of town, they talk about higher ed stuff in Montgomery. So the other thing to think about is there is some legislation called the Student Right to Know Act or something like that, and that's being discussed today. And that is really just to provide consumer information for the public as they try to make decisions on where to go in the state. And I see this not only as a way to, catalog performance and all those activities, but to me, the most important part would be to promote what we're doing in the higher ed, what the offerings are available, and how we're performing in that. The good news is we've done well. Our economy's done well. If you think about from 2008 and the big recession and then the COVID, and we had a lot of jobs lost, job gains over time. But Alabama actually benefited from this economic crisis. We ended up expanding the number of cars we serve. We've got a lot more companies in the state and doing those kind of things. And I think the whole world is looking for Alabama to really show what the American dream can look like in the modern age. Now, Thomas Jefferson said it best probably about the American dream. He said, "I was a revolutionary so that my children could farm and that their children could do art." And if that's the case, it takes about 3 generations for that American dream to occur. And all of us sort of can identify where we are in that 3-generation tour of destiny. And I'm just delighted to work with these partners, especially the Alabama Possible, who it makes things possible. They do a great job of identifying resources. I've actually called them and talked about financial aid questions, and really they do provide the resource that is very helpful. So with that, I'll pass it back to Chandra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purcell. I want to thank all of our partners for sharing your partnership with us and also sharing just how critical in creating this collaboration is to making the things that we need to see come to fruition in our state and removing generational poverty. So without these partnerships, the many things you've just heard them speak of would not be possible. We cannot do it alone. And so I'm hoping that's the message that you're all getting, that everyone brings something to the table, but you have to bring it all together collectively. So now we're turning back over to Manisha.
Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, everyone, for sharing what you all are doing and your collaboration with Alabama Possible. We love working with all of you, and I think the collective impact is possible because we work together.